We often say that breakups are endings, but for avoidants, breakups are prolonged inner crises where they lose a part of themselves they've never dared to acknowledge. Brené Brown. Have you ever felt that? When the person you love, the one you thought was gone forever, suddenly comes back, not because they've completely changed, but because inside they're still wrestling with fears and wounds that remain unhealed. People with avoidant attachment aren't like anyone else in love. They leave you, then return. They don't disappear completely, nor do they accept loss, but the way they love, the way they leave, often leaves you feeling empty and exhausted. Society often misunderstands leaving as the end of love, but for them, leaving is the only way to feel safe, a way to avoid the emotional storm inside. Then, when the silence stretches on, loneliness and longing take hold, and they come back not out of new love, but because they fear losing the safest place they ever had. So what's really happening in their minds? Why are avoidants never the same after a breakup? And why do they keep returning, even knowing they might leave again? If you find yourself caught in this cycle or simply want to understand this complex and contradictory kind of love better, this article will open a new door for you, revealing the truth behind those seemingly endless goodbyes and returns. When a person with an avoidant attachment style leaves a relationship they are still deeply attached to, the first thing their partner usually notices is an incredible sense of relief. Avoidants do not show the kind of emotional pain that secure or anxious attachment styles do. They don't cry or fall into emotional crises like others might. Instead, it's as if a heavy burden has been lifted, a liberation from the pressure and closeness that they once found suffocating and had to retreat from. This reaction stems from how their nervous system operates. It is constantly in a state of low-level activation due to the emotional demands the relationship places on them. When the breakup happens, their nervous system finally gets a chance to relax, temporarily escaping the prolonged tension. Avoidants may suddenly feel more alert, energized, productive, and socially engaged, a kind of emotional rebirth during this initial phase. During the first month after the breakup, they often throw themselves into previously restricted activities, reconnecting with old friends, pursuing hobbies they had abandoned, working longer hours to keep busy and avoid thinking about their loneliness and suppressed attachment needs. Importantly, their memories tend to be highly selective during this period. They vividly recall moments when they felt pressured to share emotions, when their partner demanded greater commitment, or when they felt trapped and threatened in their autonomy. These memories help them reinforce the belief that breaking up was the right and necessary decision for their psychological survival. This is also when they might start criticizing or complaining about their ex-partner to friends and family, emphasizing how too needy or too demanding their partner was, as a defense mechanism to protect themselves from any doubts about their role in the breakup. Throughout this stage, conscious feelings of loss are deeply suppressed, which can mislead outsiders to think they no longer care or loved in the first place. Yet behind this facade lies a still active attachment system. Avoidants don't truly forget the relationship or the person they bonded with. They are simply pushing their deep attachment needs into the subconscious. This process is a form of emotional defense, helping them avoid confronting wounds that once caused them to withdraw. Therefore, even though avoidants may outwardly appear to have smoothly exited the relationship, in reality they are undergoing a complex internal battle invisible to others. Every decision to leave, every step back, is intertwined with fear of losing control and the need to protect themselves. Their external reactions are merely the tip of the iceberg. Underneath lies a prolonged, multi-layered emotional transformation. This is why avoidants often seem different after a breakup, because they have undergone a profound emotional metamorphosis few understand. However, the truth doesn't stop there. As the initial days after the breakup, filled with relief and newfound freedom, gradually fade away, cracks begin to appear in the avoidant self-persuasion story. It's not a direct longing for their ex, but a growing awareness of the absence of things the relationship once provided, simple yet vital things like genuine care, daily sharing, and practical support. They start realizing that despite their desire to distance themselves from attachment, they miss the void once filled by their partner. A simple message asking how they are, a casual conversation, a comforting hug. These seemingly small gestures were once familiar and necessary for their sense of safety. Avoidants begin to feel the emptiness of having no one to share life's ups and downs. But because their deep fear of being tied down still lingers, they don't rush into new relationships or open up again easily. Instead, they try to compensate by engaging in shallow relationships or immersing themselves in work, hobbies, and social activities. This is their way to maintain independence and emotional control while still secretly craving closeness. The feeling of loneliness doesn't flood in all at once. It seeps in subtly, often during tough times, challenges, or special occasions, holidays, birthdays, anniversaries, moments once shared with the ex-partner. In those moments, the absence of a familiar companion becomes stark, and the longing grows deeper. This is also when the process of comparison begins to play out in their mind, often unconsciously. They look at current acquaintances, new friends, or dates and realize that the unique combination of understanding, patience, and compromise their ex offered is rare and hard to find again. This recognition creates a sense of irreplaceable loss that causes them to question their decision to leave. This comparison is not merely objective observation, but laced with emotional conflict, wanting freedom, yet craving understanding, fearing loss of independence, yet unable to endure prolonged loneliness. All of this marks a crucial turning point in the avoidance post-breakup journey, a breakthrough phase where their self-persuasion begins to falter and awareness of real loss grows clearer. This phase signals the likelihood of return, not because love has suddenly rekindled, but because fundamental needs for safety and connection remain unmet. The next phase marks a profound awakening in the avoidance mind, known in psychology as the phantom relationship syndrome. This is when they begin to truly feel the loss they have suffered. However, rather than seeing the relationship clearly, they often fall into idealizing their past relationship, turning their ex into a perfect figure in their memory. They forget the pressures, conflicts, and suffocating feelings that initially drove them away. The harsh realities vanish, replaced by a shimmering, loving image that exists only in their mind. This emotional recollection becomes a powerful motivator for their return. But rarely is this the result of genuine growth or fundamental emotional change. Instead, they come back because of an internal panic, the fear of losing the only safe place they ever had. They struggle to find a new relationship or partner who can accommodate their emotional limits and unique needs. Moreover, they want to maintain the practical benefits their previous relationship provided: stability, familiarity, and support in daily life. These returns are often accompanied by promises to change and heartfelt thanks for the patience and understanding they received. However, this motivation tends to be short-lived. As intimacy resumes, fear and withdrawal resurface as a natural reflex. They retreat, become silent, or gradually distance themselves again to protect from overwhelming feelings they don't know how to handle. This cycle doesn't usually happen just once. It can repeat many times, creating a painful whirlpool that exhausts and wounds both partners deeply. This is the essence of avoidant attachment, a continuous tension between the need to connect and the fear of losing freedom and being hurt. Understanding this is the first step toward recognizing and breaking free from this damaging loop. So, how do you break free from this painful cycle where avoidants leave and come back, trapping the relationship in an endless loop? The answer lies in awareness and concrete actions from both parties, especially those who choose to stay and want to build a healthier, more sustainable relationship. First, you need to demand real change. Don't rely on short-lived promises or fleeting emotional moments during their return. Change must be demonstrated through concrete actions: developing emotional regulation, improving communication skills, and building healthier attachment habits. This is a long process requiring patience, but without clear evidence of growth, you risk getting stuck in the same old patterns. Second, establish healthy boundaries. When avoidants withdraw, maintaining appropriate distance helps avoid excessive contact that can lead to stress or trigger old conflict. Boundaries protect your emotional well-being and create space for both partners to gain clarity about the relationship and themselves. It also prevents you from being pulled into recurring cycles of disappointment and hurt. Third, cultivate an independent, fulfilling, and joyful life for yourself. Don't rely too heavily on the avoidant partner to feel safe or happy. Spend time nurturing yourself, building social connections, and pursuing personal interests. A rich personal life not only strengthens your emotional autonomy, but also makes you more attractive and valuable in your partner's eyes. Finally, seek professional support, especially if both partners want to change and grow their relationship positively. Therapy helps avoidants identify deep-seated fears, understand their attachment patterns, and learn how to manage suppressed emotions. It also supports the partner in setting boundaries, fostering empathy, and maintaining mental health within a complex relationship. Breaking the cycle of leaving and returning isn't easy, but with persistence, understanding, and the right tools, both can move toward a more balanced relationship, one where love isn't overshadowed by fear and internal conflict. If you find yourself caught in the cycle of breaking up, withdrawing, and then returning with an avoidant partner, grant yourself patience and deep compassion. Understand that their journey isn't simply about leaving and coming back, but an ongoing inner battle between the conflicting needs for attachment and the fear of losing freedom and control. Don't rush to blame them, nor blame yourself. Instead, view things clearly and realistically. Set boundaries to protect your emotional well-being, and be ready for a brighter future, whether that path is alongside them or on a new journey of your own choosing. Ultimately, not every return signals a new beginning, and not every departure means an end forever. But only when we recognize the true nature of the story, the conflicts, fears, and needs beneath the surface, can we learn to love healthily, not just others but ourselves as well. Remember, love is not about losing yourself, but finding balance between freedom and connection. And that is the journey you deserve to live.